Hello everyone. Yeah, so this is another video and it's part of the AK August series, if you like. So the idea is that we've got various fan arts and things that are AK Girl related. Talk about the characters. So last week we did a quick video that was kind of introducing the character, and we've linked that at the end. So if you want to have a look at that and kind of have a bit more detail, that's fine. Plus another other couple of things that we're going to be talking about in a minute. Now, just to be clear, there are going to be some spoilers for the issues, and I think because we're going to be talking about the differences between like the current series and the upcoming Reynard City Chronicles, there's going to be a few spoilers for that as well, so bear that in mind if you want to get the comic. Before we start as well, I want to say a big thank you to Gail Dalmain Photography, who's one of our awesome sponsors. Like I say, every time you see one of our guest blogs on the site or anything like that, we always put links to the people that support us because they're doing an awesome job. Gail was with us at Norcon and did some absolutely fantastic photography, and we're hoping to work again with her soon, so that's awesome. Right, so what we're going to do, like I said, I'm going to highlight a few issues that are kind of crucial to the AK Girl character. So, like I say, we're going to include links to all the issues, plus, like I say, the videos we can get in at the end. So if you don't want to read through, you can just look at the video if you prefer. And like I said, just a couple of details, and then talk a little bit about how it's going to be different in the reboot, because there are going to be a couple of changes. I mean, nothing massive. I think this is the thing. I think it's more about tooling it, taking on some of the feedback people have given us and making it better. Because I think the thing is, over the course of like writing something for 10 years, you do change and you do sort of realise, okay, there are things we could have done that were better, and hindsight is a beautiful thing, but we are going to, do our best to make this work. And obviously we will have another video updating about Chronicles very soon, because we're very close to finishing it. I think there's something like 6 pages left to go, and the guys are doing an awesome job, and I'm really impressed with what Nicholas and Sid are coming up with. But as I say, if you want previews of the art, at the minute there's a whole bunch in our Patreon, and it costs $1 a month. So if you just wanted to just like give us $1 and just look at the preview stuff and go for a month, that's fine. Any amount helps support the artists, and that for me is the most important thing. So, if everyone who, say for example, was on our Twitter, donated $1, then there'd be like $5,000 for our team, and those guys deserve it. That's all I'm going to say. I'll post the link, up to you guys, but if you can, that would really help us out. So anyway, moving on to the point, but it's important stuff. So anyways, so the first one I want to talk about is, it's called Yes Sensei, and it's a small bonus comic, but it's a really important one, and it's one we're tying into the main story with Reynard City Chronicles, which talks about what happened to Vibes when she was a kid. And so the story goes, she witnessed psychically her parents getting murdered when she was about 4 or 5, and that meant she spent time in an orphanage and eventually was moved on to this place called Mike's Dojo, which is a kind of school for kids with psychic power. Now, the problem, of course, is that Vibes wasn't the best behaved kid, and she got into a bit of a tussle with this weasel named Clyde, used her powers when she wasn't supposed to, created this big sort of psychic storm that meant she had to be controlled, and this is where the caramel weakness comes in. So in order to sort of keep it under a lock, that was what was kind of brought in. Now again, we were tooling that slightly again for the comic, so it's a bit more that it's something that has to be done and it's an emergency reaction, as opposed to you're a child and you need to be punished. So people could argue that was a bit extreme, and again, it is, well, right or wrong, but I do think it was a detail that was worth changing. But also I will say, of course, with the comics, I have to make clear, we have people working on this. I would say I kind of write / produce, and in the case of Yes Sensei, we had I.L. Palmer writing the story, and Danielle Gransol, also known as D So Loud, she did the artwork, and I think they both did a phenomenal job. And it's a different style to like the regular comic, but I think it's worth looking at, and I do think it's something that's worth, you know, sort of having a good look at, because the detail's fantastic, and some of the little things, like especially on the first page, if you pause the first page on the video, have a close look at the various letters on there, because there's some lovely little details on there. Top stuff. So the next one I want to talk about is issue 1, and a little point of contention, which strangely enough came up when someone did a parody Reynard City comic, which was about Vibe's sucker punching Guillermo. And originally it was just her just going, well, I was getting bored. And I realise now that was a little bit dickish. And again, we've kind of adjusted it a bit where it's more to do with, again, talking about what we were talking about earlier, her having these memories, and Guillermo being the son of Dante Rodriguez, who was the guy that organised the hit on her parents. Like, it's an emotional reaction. It's not conscious. It's not, again, it's not just her going, well, you know, you better be ready. It's more, oh crap, I really shouldn't have done that and I'm sorry. And it means, like, you still keep the idea that she is this emotional, impulsive person, but it's not malicious. And I think that's the crucial thing, I think, with AK Girl, is that she's not a mean character. That's the thing. I think she's someone who, because I think my idea with her was always that even though she's psychic, like a lot of the time when you have psychic characters, they tend to be these kind of quite ethereal, sensitive type people. I like the idea that someone who isn't like that and doesn't quite get it has those powers, because then it kind of counters a lot of the issues, like, oh, why didn't you do this, this and this? It's like, well, she probably wasn't really focused at that point. And I think that's the important thing, because I do think sometimes when people do those kind of nitpicky things and comments like, oh, why didn't that person do this, this and this? Well, just because you have those abilities doesn't mean you do it every time, because if that were the case, every time someone played football, they would score the same goal every time, and that would get really boring, and games would be like 56 all. But the world isn't like that. You don't score every time. You don't win every race. You don't always perform to the best of your ability. And I think I would extend that to superpowers. So there's that. And like I say, in the case of Vibes, it's more the personality thing than a power thing. And the whole idea of the story is her developing as a person, developing in terms of what it means to be a hero. I mean, all that kind of mythological Joseph Campbell type stuff. But I like to think we're having a bit of fun with it as well. But anyway, sorry, moving on. So the next one, I think, which is quite crucial, is issue 6, because that's when we bring in Caramel Girl. That's when we got like a very full-on version of the inflation weakness. And I think it was the second issue Dan Butcher worked on. And yeah, the artwork, I think, on that one looks phenomenal, and it's very dynamic, it's very colourful, and I really like the style on that one. I think it's a really good one, and I just think in terms of the character that shines through from it, he did a great job. I mean, another good example of that was Out of Shape with Susie Gander. I think she really captured the emotion with the character as well, because in that issue, like, Vibes has this strange affliction after she gets hit by this chemical blast, and the transformations and things that Susie does, and just she's got a different style. It's a little bit sketchier than the others, but it's cool and I love it. And I've seen recently with things like Periwinkle, her artwork gets better and better, and she's awesome. So, you know, top stuff there. Trying to think. Oh yeah. There's also the ones with, because Nicholas Webb and Strider Sid have done work with us before. So issue 11 is a very emotional one, and I don't even want to talk too much about that one because it's a bit spoilery. But the impact with that one, like, he really sort of brings it out. And then later on with the Balloon Boy one, also really sort of shows you the character, shows you the pain and the struggle that is going on with that character. And yeah, there's those I would say are kind of like the main ones I would say to have a look at. All the Fun of the Fair is another Dan Butcher one, which, although it doesn't move like the plot on of the story that much, in terms of visuals, I think it looks fantastic, and I think the job he did was absolutely amazing. But I want to hear from you. This is, as I say, this is AK August. I want to hear from you. What are your favourite AK Girl centric issues? Do you have any ideas for like stories you'd like to see with AK Girl, or who do you imagine AK Girl would cross over well with, or you'd like to see her have a fight with? I'm opening it up to the comments. I'm going to sort of ask on various forums, and I'd like to see what you think. Anyway, hope you guys have an awesome day, whatever you're doing, and much love. Bye.